We'll see whether they do have any more crazy quirks to bring out. They only need 3 wins. If you can cheese yourself 3 wins, you're in the group stage.
That's absolutely true. DAMWON, though, it really did feel like they were playing pretty loose in that game 1. Both from their picks and bans, their overall 5v5 team composition just not really making that much sense, and an unfamiliarity with Garen Yuumi. Now, we got the Taliyah Renekton, just deadly gank combo in any solo lane they throw at it, and Nuclear back on his Kaisa.
This feels like DAMWON has said, okay, that's enough of the sillies. We're not going to play the crazy compositions that we were last time, and Artifact is back on the Twisted Fate as a response. Doesn't necessarily know who he's up against there in that mid lane, if that's indeed where the Twisted Fate is going, most likely. Of course, we haven't seen that one flexed too often. As Vladimir is going to be respected and banned away. I like that Lowkey Esports do this, though. They don't just assume the Renekton is going top lane because ShowMaker didn't have such a great performance on it earlier on in the week.
Yeah, I completely agree on that one, knowing the lane swaps are possible and actually just targeting out the magic damage solo laners that Nuguri is most successful with. This is a composition, though, because of the Kaisa and Taliyah that could still go double physical damage solo lanes and be okay because they have enough magic damage elsewhere.
Yeah, and Taliyah does a hell of a lot of damage from the jungle as well. Canyon has shown quite proficiency on that one, as Wife Steal bottom lane is locked in unless the Lucian's going to be flexed, but I like it. A lot of control in that lane, and what have we said? Attack DAMWON through their bottom lane. I want to add to that, because I personally think that if you're going to attack DAMWON that way, it can't be the normal attack bottom lane where you teleport down there, where your jungle is waiting and you 4-man dive the turret. I feel like in order to beat DAMWON, you need to just straight up beat them in the 2v2, and that might be something that they can do here, as Beryl's Alistar does get picked up, but still isn't going to have a lot of control in the early stages. And Qiyana, once again, going to be picked up as well.
Solo lane Pyke.
We're doing it again.
By the way.
This has worked against LCK before, Jatt. I don't like remembering it, but it has. It was then nerfed to hopefully never do that ever again. But now it's doing it again.
They're going to try it, and this probably means they're lane swapping. Because, try as you may to stop solo lane Pyke from existing. His wave clear is basically non-existent. Even after he gets Tiamat, it is not that good. So, with all that being said, Pyke still wins a lot of solo lane games in solo queue because you can get to level 6 quickly, you can roam a lot, and you generate a lot of gold with your ultimate. So, what I'm expecting to happen here is either Hani just plays incredibly passive in the 1v1 laning phase, or he just completely abandons the lane and roams from basically level 1, and they just don't try in CS. We'll see.
I'd like the roaming from level 1 strategy, because I think laning against Nuguri's Renekton on a Pyke sounds like an awful time.
Yep.
I guess, you know, you've got more like leeway in trades, because you just get to slink away afterwards, get all of your health back for free, things like that. But this is going to be a scorned DAMWON Gaming. A DAMWON Gaming that weren't expecting their first loss here at this tournament to be in Game 1 versus Lowkey Esports. They stole the first game away with a really unique strategy that paid off. They ticked a whole lot of the boxes that we needed them to, but can they do it? 2 more games, and can they do it 2 more games in a row to get a 3-0? It would be insane. Let's get into game number 2.
Oh, man.
Sepia mode. My favorite. I've been forged in this mode, Jatt.
So we were only on the screen for a hot second, but Nuguri started with Cull again.
Okay, that's good to know.
So
this time on a Renekton. We've had a slight issue. Someone failed to load into the game. I believe it might have been Nuclear, based on the action that's happening on the screen right here.
Yep. If there's a threat of a lane swap happening again, I think Cull would be a very bad first item.
Well, I mean, it was a relatively bad first item in the last game, but
when they lane swapped.
And I know they lost, right, Jatt? But should we say that the Vladimir didn't work, or should we say that it worked? Because actually, his scoreline looked real good.
Yeah.
You know, he cashed in that Cull in the end.
He did.
He completed his quest on his Nomad's medallion.
He did. And then Tristana had 3 items by 3 minutes.
Yeah, and also, like, they entered underneath Nexus turrets and the Tristana had teleport up. So there were a lot of things that happened that game that were required to happen in order for Lowkey to pick up the victory. And are they going to be able to have all of these ducks in a row?
Yeah, because my opinion right now in this matchup is that so many very unlikely things to happen happened sequentially.
Yeah.
And then DAMWON ended up losing.
Do you want to try and go? You were talking about a reference that you wanted to make. Do you want to try and go for it here?
Geez.
You got plenty of time to muse.
I do. Basically, this is a conversation we had backstage. Casters do this sometimes. They say, I was trying to go for this. Give me ideas. And I was like, I wanted to do like how many licks to the center of a Tootsie Pop. But like every lick would be some miraculous thing in the game, and the center of the Tootsie Pop would be a low-key victory.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you explained it beautifully just there.
That took way longer than like a quick little quip you throw in like the moment of a cast.
That's why we have pauses like this.
And then Medic rephrased in a pretty succinct way. He said they got a 1 out of 100 play to work several times in a row.
Yeah.
Right? Which is close. Like it's pretty unlikely that you can just pull out lane swaps against an LCK team and have a 5,000 gold advantage with 3 turrets and 15 turret plates on your Trist 15 minutes into the game. That's incredibly unlikely.
And also, how do you convince DWG Gaming to play Garen Yuumi for the first time and have no siege potential in that sort of situation?
Yeah,
so
and have the Vladimir start call, which apparently is just a common thing now.
Yeah, I mean, I did get word that he's been playing a lot of the old Cull Vladimir in solo queue and has done it at least once or twice. I think he did it in the Kesper Cup last year, so I was called a bit of a dum-dum for forgetting.
So again, in a game that he was seeing as low consequence.
Yeah, against KG Seoul or something like that, apparently. I'm not entirely sure who was up against there. So, look, he has done it before. This is not a new occurrence for investment banker Nuguri, nor is it just a disrespect play. And that's obvious because he's taken it again, even if he is on a different champion.
Yeah, well, he's probably saying, all right, I'm going to be able to free farm as much as possible up against this Pyke, but we're going to have to see what type of early game moves Lowkey make, because we know playing them standard isn't Lowkey's strategy or the best way for them to win. So mixing things up is definitely what they want to do. As we were about to be getting back in the game, but I got my observer on the other side, and it looked like someone else may have just DC'd as well. So
we may have ping-ponged over to the other side of the map, as both of the 80 carries in this game are struggling just a little bit by the looks of things. Celebrity did pop out of the client, like you were alluding to just there. This gives us a bit of time, Jatt.
Yep.
This gives us a little bit of time to talk about what exactly happened to the Pyke to stop it from doing what Wonder did to SKT at MSI.
I'm going to pull up the patch notes for you.
Yeah, pull them up.
Yeah,
you don't need to.
You wouldn't
tell
believe
me
it, but I don't have it completely memorized. That's
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Is that why you were kicked off the balance team?
Yeah, because I didn't remember.
You failed your last test.
Everything happened. Hey. No. All right, so nerfs for Pyke, specifically for solo lane, came in 9.13. So one of the big things is the Q, especially like the tap Q, doesn't do AoE damage like it once does. It no longer deals 30% damage to minions beyond the closest. The stab attack damage, which used to be 150%, is now 100. So a bunch of nerfs. But to kind of compensate that, he gets more move speed with his W. Oh, and also his E doesn't do any damage to non-champions. So like you used to be able to E through a wave, poke it with your Q, proc the Tiamat, auto it again, and the wave would basically be gone. Now if you do that, you just maybe get 1 CS. You've used all your spells and you've killed 1 minion. And then further, that left him a little weak. So in 9.14, his death from below his ultimate does a lot more gold.
Yeah.
A lot.
So basically what they've done is they've removed his ability to kill minions, and they've made his risk-reward factor much higher. You know, much more variance, right? So if you do manage to get those kills, it is way more money. And I want to bring this back to this matchup, Jatt.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you're going to be a gambling man, or if you're going to be a gambling team, this is Lowkey's time to do it, right? They are certainly the David in the David versus Goliath. And in that story, David comes out on top, but he has to do some funny business in order to get there, and that's exactly what Lowkey are trying to go for. And if you go for these sort of gamble plays as soon as Pyke hits level 6 in a mid-game, something like that, and you inject a whole bunch of extra gold that shouldn't even be in the game into your team, that could be the snowball that they're looking for.
Yeah, and then it's a question of what can they do with that snowball because they're from behind. Have you Sorry, you brought up David Goliath, and because there's not another thing immediately grabbing my attention.
Got it.
Have you ever read the book called David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell?
No, I haven't.
Okay, sorry. I'm going to mess this up.
I thought it was a Bible story.
If the producers want me to like do something else, okay, they just said I can do whatever I want, so it's fine. I'm going to tell the story.
Yeah.
He kind of claimed that the David and Goliath story wasn't as underdog as it's been told beforehand.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a couple of factors that go into this.
He analyzed David versus Goliath?
Yeah, he does.
I think they're really trying to distract you.
You can do whatever you want. We're just going to put this exciting stuff on your screen to stop you from talking about this thing that has no relevance to League of Legends.
This is to save the viewers that are getting bored.
I think I can pull it back to League.
Go.
As we watch the highlights from the upset in the first game. So, part of the legend is that like David threw a rock at him, hits Goliath, wins the fight because he's this huge guy that no one could fight. But if you think about it, if David's like a really skilled guy with the slingshot, he has the range advantage on Goliath to begin with, which should put him in an advantage.
I see where you're going with this.
Secondarily, if it really is like this mythically large person, he's probably got some disorder like giganticism or something, and he did. Once again, I'm messing this up. I clearly don't have it here, but he's like, oh yeah, and people that were that big also had poor vision. So not only do you have this incredibly skilled guy with the slingshot and rocks, you have this guy who can't see well. And these rocks are just being hurled towards him.
Okay.
So like, really, who do you favor in that matchup? The slingshot over the blind dude.
Probably the slingshot, now that you've explained it so eloquently.
If that was the case. So, in League of Legends...
To bring it back to this,
who would have the advantage? Someone who's played 50 lane swap games, or someone who hasn't done it since 2016 because you haven't had to because it's been bad.
Or a team that has range versus a team that doesn't.
Yeah,
right?
Or if a team can see because the monitors were unplugged, was clearly the strategy.
Hey, there we go.
Okay, full circle.
There are a lot of references that made some sense. And speaking
I do like David and Goliath from like a story building perspective though. So
all right, let me just fill you guys in on exactly what's gone wrong and why we're talking about David and Goliath stories, even though it was absolutely beautifully done, Jatt. Fantastic work. A player failed to load into the game properly, guys. So League officials have offered a remake of Picks and Bans with the same champions, and it was accepted. The new champion select is being done off broadcast now, which is why we're able to have these incredibly engrossing extra stories and added content for you guys, and why we've been here for quite some time.
Yeah. And apparently we're in the last minute of loading, so the David and Goliath matchup, which you now don't know which team I'm referring to, is about to restart.
Exactly. I don't actually know who David is anymore.
Yeah.
I think David was the one with all of the extra range, but as we move into
all the
game
weapons and the range and speed, the agility.
Well, guys, we are out of those replays, and you know what that means. We are moments away from restarting this game, and hopefully everyone is going to stay in it. DAMWON certainly still have to be the favorites, but after the David and Goliath story, I'm starting to question everything. And after that first game, I already was. I was already vulnerable, and now Jatt's had this amazing story, and I think I'm almost ready to flip flop. I don't know.
I mean, upsets are possible.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Miracle on Ice?
I haven't.
It's like an American sports story.
Yeah, I haven't really.
I tried to pitch this.
I know a few American
two
sports stories.
Unnamed NA teams. There were two of them, so you'll never know who I'm talking about.
Okay.
Before 2014 quarterfinals in Korea, because they'd just been getting destroyed by Korean teams in scrims all the time. I'm like, you know what? Upsets have happened. I just told them all these stories about American history. And like, yeah, but I really just don't think we're going to win. Of course you don't think you're going to win. And then they lost.
Yeah, they did. They did lose. I remember that.
Yeah. I wonder who they scrimmed, says Wonder.
Wow, look, he has some pretty cool strats. Just taking credit for Lowkey's incredible play. Wonder, that was low. That was low. Let them have this. My goodness.
Look at that individual gold at 15 by Celebrity is Tristan in game one, and 47.6% of the team's damage.
That's a lot of percent of the team's damage, especially over a game that's that long as well. It's normally these sort of snowbally games or low kill games where it's like one team fight is actually the majority and you've not fought at all, and then you get to 40 minutes. And I'm giving away the fact that I'm an LCK commentator here just a little bit. But you have the AD carry get 50% of the damage because he's actually just the only damage dealer and they've only done one fight, so the percentages are a little bit confusing. That is not the case for this game. Celebrity was right in the faces of DWG Gaming, and then he was the one that won it towards the end. I like this. I remember I commentated him back when he was playing for Saigon Jokers a really long time ago.
Wow.
And I believe this squad as well had a lot of players from like Team Friendship or something. The team that didn't actually do a lot of... Friends Forever Gaming, that's right. Yeah. They didn't actually qualify into any of the IWCIs, IWCQs or the play-ins, but they just had the best name.
Yeah.
Was Gaming also from that league?
You mean G2?
No, Gaming.
I know, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's 2 Gs. It's 2 Gs. It's different, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, nothing's happened this game, guys. We actually haven't really acknowledged that the game started again. It has, in fact. That's what's on at the moment, as you can see. 200 gold is currently the lead for DAMWON, just in the laning phase. But it's only 2 minutes in. I feel like we've been talking for a really long time, but there just hasn't been very much League of Legends. We've just been learning about stories and having a philosophy lesson from Jatt, which I very much appreciated.
Yeah, and they're definitely not lane swapping in the early game in this one, so I want to track...
that's a field
ShowMaker, you don't have spells left. Doesn't look like DNK does either, though, so should be fine.
Yeah, ShowMaker actually very aggressive. I got very confused because, of course, Canyon was playing the Qiyana, so I thought I was checking the smite of the Taliyah. And their faces aren't super different as well, if you have a look at the icons.
Yeah.
I was still
Now
sure
the jungler is going to try and invade DNK. It's a group effort to try and deny him here, and they actually have...
Well, we're looking for it. The smite does come in, so DNK locks down the red buff. Canyon doesn't go any further forward. He doesn't have his blue buff just yet, does Canyon? And he knows that DNK is actually very low.
And flashless.
Yeah. Threaded volley does get him out of there, is now stunned underneath the turret is Hani. He doesn't have very much farm, Jatt, so I think that your assessment of the Pyke is working out thus far.
Yeah. Although he is sustaining fairly well. You can see he's gone with as many potions as possible.
Yeah. Bit of a demolish there. Gonna find it, so Hani successfully saves himself on that one. Bone Skewer, but outside of turret range is Nuguri, so will survive for the moment. Getting a bit dangerous, and that was Canyon just a little bit slow on the seismic shove.
Yeah, you basically have to press the buttons at the same time, and that gets even more close when the Pyke builds Mercury Treads. But early on, Lowkey doing fine in the lanes that they're expected to do fine in. Yep. And also dealing with the very aggressive invading of DAMWON early on.
I like how you're saying fine, and fine is like a 16 CS disadvantage at 4 minutes on the top side of the map. Like, Nuguri has over double his farm, but like, they're doing great. This is really good.
I have this, I don't know, it's a curiosity. Anytime I see, well, we're going to watch this dive in top lane. Anytime I see a weird champion in a solo lane in like Challenger, I always try and dig into it. But we're going to watch Canyon try and get this dive off. If they can get the combo properly, they take most of his health. But for now, they're just going to go for turret plates.
Yep, it's another demolish proc comes on in there as there's the flash. But He gets out of the way. Seismic shot still lands, though, and the stun was still primed. The deep water dive is in, but he's down to about 200 health. He should be okay.
He's going to die.
Yeah, Bone Skewer comes forward as Nuguri wants the autos, doesn't get them. First blood once again to Lowkey Esports.
Nuguri going so aggressive with Canyon. They really just brute forced that gank. And missing the flash on top of blowing a lot of damage into Hani's Aftershock means he doesn't take fatal damage, and it makes the follow-up gank by DNK quite easy. Unwilling to just take a huge advantage from the cull plus CS advantage, they had to go for more, and they get denied.
Well, over goes DNK. Yeah, he is easily able to smite that one away. That denies Canyon level 4 as well as denying him the blue buff. A real disaster here for DAMWON to start this game off, but probably still not as bad as how things went in game 1.
Not yet, but you can see here the Aftershock eats most of the damage from the Taliyah combo. Otherwise, that is a fatal kill. If they were able to get the original stun, they likely would have had the 100-0 damage. That's why Renekton was near 100% presence in the LCK towards the end of the year, because everyone was very good at this, whether it was Taliyah Renekton or Elise Renekton in generating kills. Yet for some reason here, Nuguri messes up his flash range and is unable to get Hani.
Yeah, so first it was Canyon messing up when to use the seismic shove, and then it was flash range on Nuguri that was messing things up. And Hani even went back in, right? And the seismic shove was just landed by good aim on Canyon's behalf, and The Ruthless Predator wasn't actually timed out just yet, so Nuguri gets that one back as well. And despite that working, still wasn't enough to lock down the Pyke. Pyke continuing to be a problem when used in a solo lane for a Korean team.
Yeah. So,
I still have nightmares, Jatt.
About the Pyke?
Yes.
Murdering SKT in Game 5 of MSI?
Mm-hmm. Thanks for clarifying. Yeah.
Well, just in case the viewers wanted in on your your sleep problems.
Yeah, that's where the nightmares come from. That exact Pyke.
He was so fast. Do you remember that replay where he just zoomed down through the?
I do remember that replay, Jatt. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Anything else you want to talk about?
How the ult just resets over and over.
Oh, those sacks of gold. Max, you remember the sacks of gold that he had delivered to his team? Well, remember Canyon turning up in the mid lane, lands another seismic shove, and that's what happens when you don't have Aftershock. ShowMaker picks up the ground, throws it at Twisted Fate, and he dies.
And they burn the flash on Artifact, so that will completely limit his ability to roam, and now kind of opens up the map for ShowMaker. How quickly can they use this advantage? Because there is still the Qiyana ultimate. This is a 4-man crash dive.
Yeah, that's the flash headbutt pole. Celebrity immediately gets taken down. The hook lands onto Canyon, and Beryl had tanked up the turret for so long, but that's ShowMaker that turns up. And teleport comes down. The flash play. The cow is turned into mincemeat as ShowMaker finds the ultimate onto one, but it's not the target that he wanted. Nuclear, are you going to press R? The answer is no. Doesn't want to dive into 3 people as Venus. Good sidestep there as Nuguri just going to finish off some plates on the bottom side of the map. Looks like leftovers for the Crocodile.
Such a sweet flash play by Venus right there, making the blast cone the ally by displacing at the last second. So even though that was a very quick transition for DAMWON from the kill mid to immediately going bottom, we're gonna watch it one more time, and this is just a route. And normally, actually, when you see this gank, it would just be a route into an immediate seismic shove, but this was technically dodgeable by Artifact, just well aimed by Canyon at the very end, and Infernal actually goes over to Lowkey. First Infernal of the series for them.
Yep, DAMWON gonna lose it. Next Drake is going to be that Mountain Drake yet again. I believe same order of Drakes as it was in game number 1. So we'll see whether it might even be the 3 Infernals. Maybe Lowkey gets it, and maybe that's actually a bad omen for them, because apparently in this series, if you get 3 Infernal Drakes, you lose the game. It's very perplexing. You've got Nuguri still at almost double the CS of Hani, so I think that things need to continue happening around this Pyke, otherwise he's just going to fall further and further behind.
So here's the thing.
Tell me the thing.
With solo lane Pyke. I don't think he needs CS to be successful. When I look at challenger solo lane Pyke players, their CS per minute's like 4.5. So low. Because
you're playing at home, that's under half of what good CS is.
Good CS is 10 per minute, maybe 9.5. And crazy solo queue games that happen here in EU West, it's probably like 8. I've been watching a lot of Tracking the Pros, and they're just killing each other everywhere. But yeah, so like Pykes are at 4, and other champions are at 8. And he does so much stuff outside of lane that he just follows like different gold values than other champions. Like a Pyke with 5 CS per minute can be just as, if not more effective in a team fight than a Renekton with 9, given the right situation. So just as we're looking at this, the gold could potentially slingshot around a fair bit, because DAMWON could be up 1,000, but then a Pyke gets a triple kill in a team fight and it's back, right? And then that lower CS number ends up just kind of fitting in with the kit to still have enough gold.
A bit crazy. Nuguri, though, has more swords and a bigger one than Hani at this stage. They're just trying to outsword each other right here. That pesky shield in Hani's inventory, taking up space that he doesn't want utilized by that. Nuguri really wanted to get towards that turret so that he could take that last plate that was just hanging on by a thread. Don't know whether he actually made it there, but does make it down into the river to try and get some vision control on DAMWON's side, as Venus is lurking. They have transitioned towards Shelly, and she's been
Rift Herald
for
swap.
40 seconds, and yeah, she's going to be taken down. Is this clutch? I thought they were playing in the next series.
Well, we're about to find out with what happens at the Rift Herald fight, because DAMWON is coming in for this. And that's a lot of people in the river for a Qiyana.
Yeah, and Beryl's turned up here as well, so it is going to be a 4 versus 5 for the moment. But the killer instinct is going to be there for Nuclear, so Shelly hasn't reset just yet, and it looks like DAMWON, they want to be able to steal this one away. DNK's got some great smites before as he goes golden immediately. Not entirely sure who picked up the Rift Herald, but now the fight is on. ShowMaker dives forward. DNK dies so incredibly fast. as the culling is soaked by the cow. Beryl still has the unbreakable will as Hani trying to get that pincer maneuver up to the top side. DAMWON intelligently trying to get the stragglers as they move themselves forward. Headbutt pole lands, but that is a great aftershock proc there by Venus. Stun comes in, Artifact is being closed on, flash forward. The Twisted Fate goes down, and the rest of DAMWON were dealing with the Thresh. Really good control here from the DAMWON squad around that Rift Herald.
And they also were able to pick up the Rift Herald, which is just immediately used by Nuguri early.
Nuguri was the one that picked it up, so of course
Yeah.
he's put it in his lane to try and get all of those plates that he was trying to lock down against this Pyke. Oh, Nucleus. What a cheeky devil. Look at that. Goes and steals his plates away.
Also, did you know, Ender told me this the other day,
Oh, yeah.
Rift Herald resets the cooldowns of your trinkets.
Really?
Yeah, so Nuguri technically could have spammed his wards, grabbed that Rift Herald, used it right away, and got his wards back.
I wonder if he did that, because he had roamed down to the river. You can see there are a couple of DAMWON wards there. We could just say, just
did it.
Proving you
Big
right's
brain.
sake, that they were there. So let's have a look now how this fight went.
Yeah, Canyon gets the smite, but Nuguri picks up the Rift Herald, and really, ShowMaker just catches the whole of Lowkey and stops them from being able to follow up on this fight, and the whole time Pyke on the flank is just hoping to get someone in execute range, which is one of the reasons I think Nuclear had that early heal.
Yeah.
He said, all right, Beryl, I don't want Pyke resetting on us. That kind of infuses him with the confidence to go in with his Aftershock and ult. No damage can really be returned, and everyone on Lowkey ends up just getting too split up.
Yeah, we have to talk about this DAMWON comp and how it works together as well, just for a little bit, because there's some really exciting interactions with how this one works. Yes, they've got a whole lot of divers, right? They're able to get things done, but the really cool thing about this comp is that Canyon can set up supreme display of talent wall options for ShowMaker. And you can create some crazy Thunderdomes with the shapes that you can build, and you can have a heck of a lot of damage if you block people off, especially in Baron Pits, throughout the jungle, things like that, because that interaction does work.
Yeah. Sometimes it can just seem to blow up the whole screen, especially if you
Yes.
threw a Jarvan in the game as well, because if the walls connect, everything flies around with the Qiyana ultimate.
It's real silly. Actually, the first time I saw it, I was very confused. It was like a disco. Lots of lights, lots of explosions. It was a Michael Bay film. But it was certainly exciting to watch, and we'll see whether DAMWON can show us some of these team fights as the Mountain Drake is going to go over. I love it, being able to pick up the Earth Dragon when they've got two sort of Earth-wielding champions as well, the Taliyah and the Qiyana. Thematically correct, beautiful. Theoretically, Qiyana does control a lot of different elements, but I think the Earth element is the coolest one.
Because of the damage.
Yeah. Do more damage makes you cooler, Jatt. That's how it works.
If I had to rank them, I don't know, I think the grass has the most fun for the Qiyana player.
Yeah, I'd say so. Going a bit stealthy. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Water's the most powerful.
Yeah. Water's the actual good one.
Yeah.
And then the Earth one's the bait because it does more damage.
Only when they're low.
Yeah. I actually think what makes a good Qiyana player is the ability to reset all of the elements over and over again throughout a fight. So you've actually used all of them the one time with how the cooldowns sort of reset. I think it's really beautiful watching a really skilled Qiyana player work. I have to keep our eyes on ShowMaker as this game goes on, see whether it's him or Canyon that are the better Qiyanas. Canyon spent a fair bit of time in the Death Chamber in game number 1, so ShowMaker does feel like more of a ShowMaker champion. Here does the Qiyana.
And just looking at their CS in the group stage, it was very much a solo lane focus, and Nuclear had a really hard time, especially in day 1 of the group stage, and ended up bouncing back a little bit more. So day 4 was his second day. Keep in mind, the average we just saw was from the whole group stage, and this was just his 2 games on day 4, which tells you how rough it was in the first 2 games for him. But looked a little bit better, definitely, as the second day of playing stage happened for them.
Yeah, Nuclear really did sort of repair his play. And it's cool because the way DAMWON qualified here is in a 5-game series against a Kingzone that had been in a huge rut over the last little while. They qualified because they had enough championship points after finishing 3rd in the spring season, but their summer season was basically non-existent. They weren't really able to get anything done in a hyper-competitive top side of the LCK. And they were up against this Kingzone squad that have probably one of the most dominant 2v2s in lane that we have in the league. And I think that's why it was a 5-game series. think because they were able to lock down Nuclear and Beryl and challenge that weakness without having to give any resources to it. Deft and Tucson just kill people in 2v2s all the time. I think that is going to be a real way to tackle this DAMWON squad. And I think it's a large reason why things worked out for Lowkey early, because it wasn't like you were moving extra people around or doing anything like that. It was a lane swap. It was creating chaos.
And Nuclear was not going to punish them with Garen. That's for sure.
That is definitely
He might have on something else.
He did show us some of those sick Garen mechanics, though. There are a few of those moments in those team fights. Do like that as DAMWON. 2 minutes until this next dragon is up. Looks like they're just trying to aim for some extra control around this area, although Canyon standing on that ward isn't helping himself out there. With these outer turrets taken down, feels like DAMWON have given up on the laning phase and are looking for the 1-3-1 that they do so often in the LCK.
Yeah, and now it would be on Lowkey to actually get a tee-off ultimate in for an initiation this time. But the CS of Hani is pretty good. Being able to get kind of the early assist gold on Nuguri Renekton, which stopped him from being too aggressive, let him get to Tiamat quickly enough that he's been CSing quite well at his own turret, but he still needs, he would need that one team fight to really get going, and the number of kills in this game just have to go way up for this solo lane Pyke to be effective, because that's the way he generates so much of his gold. So much of the power of the champion is actually just the gold he generates through his ultimate.
I feel like next Serrated Dirk is when they just have to fight. When Lowkey are just at a point where they will only get weaker after that point. I think that is a big power spike here for Hani to try and fight around. But if DAMWON can get a team fight that they're looking for, because remember, this is now a team fight composition from DAMWON as well. They can dive bomb with their Kaisa. They can get a whole lot of chain CC down from the Alistar that's in Beryl's hands. You have to remember the nameplates are very important here because Beryl is so incredibly good at finding the right moments for his Pulverize. And then the Supreme Display of Talent plus the Weaver's Wall are a combo that really do need to be respected as we're having some drawing. Finally, it's back.
Yeah, it was bugged in game one. We didn't get it. But now look at all the wards and the vision control that they have in the river with Dragon coming up in exactly 20 seconds. So
I forgot
in case you wouldn't know. Also, if you ever want, I can just give you visual support for your points.
Okay.
And tell us straight for you.
All right, next team fight. While I'm play-by-playing, could you please highlight where the things are happening so that the audience can see? That would be really, really cool. It will probably be also very distracting, so hopefully I can keep it together.
I have a plan.
All right, I'm ready. The Infernal Drake is
going to be a while for the next team fight if DAMWON has their way.
Yeah. 4,000 gold is the lead just somehow for DAMWON. They won a couple of fights.
Yeah.
And that's what allowed them to get there.
And they had so much vision control, it would have been unwise of Lowkey to actually go in there and check.
I've got an important question, Jatt.
Oh, great.
I was wondering who's copying who out of ShowMaker and Hani when it comes to item builds?
I'm excited about this because I had a question for you that also related to longswords.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Answer my question first, though. Who do you think is copying who?
I think ShowMaker is copying Hani.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the Pyke build, and Pyke's been around longer.
Yeah, and I think the Tiamat is optional.
True.
On Qiyana.
Whereas it's mandatory on Pyke because he doesn't have any other way of killing minions.
No other way. My question would be, remember when sometimes casters ask each other for help with analogies?
Yeah.
You were talking about Renekton and Pyke racing towards longswords. And I was going to be like, you don't get in a sword fight with the crocodile or something. Like, there's something there.
There's a crocodile sword fight.
Yeah, but I also couldn't figure out what Pyke was.
Dude, it's a pirate versus a crocodile. It's Captain Hook versus the crocodile with the clock. You just need a stopwatch and you've triggered him completely out of existence. As here we go, Supreme Display of Talent finds 0. But DAMWON aren't going to get caught out of position or anything like that. Thanks, Jatt. That was a really good slow effort. I feel like for that one, you could just draw. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. It's okay. There'll be more fights this game.
Yep. So what is the saying then? You don't start a knife fight with the...
Spoon? I don't know. I think it's a knifey spoony.
Something wrong.
That's a Simpsons reference.
Someone will figure it out.
Yeah, someone will tweet it to you. Someone smarter than I am, because I don't actually know what you're talking about at all. I just got really excited about Peter Pan, because Captain Hook versus the crocodile is fun to me.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I got, really. But DNK doing his very best to try and hold on to some sort of control, and there is a very pesky control ward in this red side jungle, giving Lowkey all sorts of added information. Come on, DAMWON, get in.
I mean, this is the type of
They do
game.
find it.
This is the type of game we expected in Game 1.
Yeah.
And it feels like DAMWON has kind of re-found, you know, their seriousness in this series.
Rediscovered even.
Yeah, and like that Twisted Fate ultimate was used just because they wanted to check Baron, right?
Yeah.
Not because they were looking for a fight, but at some point they do need to go in, right? They're getting starved out of trinkets.
Were you actually thinking of don't bring a knife to a gunfight?
Yeah, but it needed to be swords.
Yeah, I
It needed
know.
to be a crocodile fight.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that were missing.
Don't bring
That's why I didn't say
crocodile
anything,
to a
'cause I
gun
didn't
sword
have it.
fight?
Yeah, don't bring a crocodile to a sword fight.
Don't bring a crocodile to a barbecue?
Yeah,
I think that's an obvious
maybe,
one.
but nothing's barbecuing. It's not like they're building sunfire capes.
Yeah, that's true. There's no rumbles here.
No.
I think it needs some work, right? But
Yes.
we'll definitely...
We'll workshop it later.
I'm sorry, that's all I was thinking about while you were making up.
One of my favorite things is taking idioms people are used to and then switching the last word,
Uh-huh.
right? So that's why, like, kind of an idiom, don't bring a blah 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 to a blah fight. Like, you can
Actually,
just
I
find
think
ways.
that's really cool because, like, if you change the last letter of idiom, you get idiot. there's a reference there. Can we figure out a way to make that one work too, Jatt? I don't know.
So rude.
Well, do you know what's rude? We're in the lull state, and we haven't talked about the lull state yet because this game has slowed well and truly all the way down as we're having a look at the bounties that people have on their heads. It's actually the circles were getting in the way there just a little bit.
They were.
As Nuclear is making his way towards item number 3. We need to talk about when this DAMWON comp is going to get strong, and I think 3 items for Nuclear is going to be a big one, as Beryl, he's going to try and get them off the lantern, and a seismic shove will do just that. Nuclear's going to grab it, and they're going to blast cone their way over to this Baron. The Weaver's Wall's fantastic, as well as Venus. He can't get over unless he flashes, and he doesn't have it available. Teleport's coming in, but can they actually get there? The seismic shove to get them out of the way. The culling was in there, but the smite was true this time. ShowMaker doesn't get the supreme display of talent, but it's a really good cleanse. As into the backline goes Nuclear. He gets stunned, but he's able to take down Celebrity before anything happens. DAMWON lose no one. They gain themselves a Baron and 2 kills. And Hani, he might be going down yet again. Oh no. This 1-2 punch of the cow plus the Taliyah is working so well for DAMWON this game.
And they actually had so much control over that entire situation. The starving of vision they had done to Lowkey over the past 4 or 5 minutes, forcing them into a move, and now they're at least going to be trying to take this inhibitor.
And Canyon's eye is well and truly in on these flicks as well. The seismic shove looked fantastic, like he was swatting a fly away. But instead it was a Thresh, and it denied him from getting towards that pit. You could tell that he really wanted to get over there and provide vision for his squad so that maybe there was a potential steal, just wasn't going to happen. Nuguri sees 50 gold on the map right there, and he's going to take down that ward. The first flick, fantastic. Venus will come over in the end, another one. The Weaver's Wall's brilliant. This was all about Canyon.
Also keeping Thresh out from hooking the pit so he couldn't bring a teammate in. The only possible scary part would have been the culling, but as long as you have that in there, Hani not able to get the ult onto ShowMaker to stop any potential things from going wrong. But even if he lands that, everyone else on DAMWON was completely full health.
And now another Mountain Drake is going to make breaking this base even easier. It was already done. The inhibitor in the mid lane was there, and 8,000 gold is now the lead at 25 minutes into this game. Feels like DAMWON, they've repaired their mental after a long pause at the beginning of this game and a disastrous game 1. As we're having a look at the 3 items completed. Thank you very much, Jatt, for highlighting that one. Nuclear is now strong, and I think they've already won the key team fight that they were looking for. Things just went from bad to worse. As that's the way I know that one, Jatt. I know that one. As Weaver's Wall's going to come in, so Canyon looking for more supreme display of talent. It's going so far around these walls, but unfortunately, the Weaver's Wall saves them from the damage. Massive pulverize in the backline shows us that it just doesn't matter what the Qiyana's ultimate's doing if they can get into this fight. They just have too much damage. As now DNK is looking to turn it onto ShowMaker. His combo doesn't do quite enough damage. As now you got ShowMaker trying to deny him from stopping these backs, but it doesn't matter. There are super creeps in the base. The Nexus will be taken down. A 26-minute revenge victory for DAMWON. And something I wasn't expecting to say was that this has evened out the series between DAMWON and Lowkey.
You're absolutely right, but I think DAMWON did a very good job of recovering from the insanity of Game 1. They did pick a Renekton. Lowkey didn't decide to go for lane swaps, and even though a few things actually did go wrong for them in the early game, they stayed controlled, they didn't overforce, and they just kind of let the game come to them. They actually played their game rather than just thinking they would be able to walk over Lowkey Esports, which Lowkey proved couldn't be done in Game 1.
Yeah, and it was once again a cull start from Nuguri, but I think the rest of the team certainly played with a lot more respect for this squad. I'm glad that we saw a lot of Beryl's moments as well that we were expecting on the Alistar, and ShowMaker on the Qiyana, despite missing one of the ultimates, was otherwise able to utilize her exactly where she needs to. And a lot of the things that DAMWON were commended for were playing around item spikes and item completions and power spikes, and it just showed that they certainly know exactly when Qiyana is supposed to get down and dirty in these battles.
Yeah, and utilization of Hex Flash from Beryl I thought was very strong. Right, like the early turret dives they were able to pull off bottom lane just as soon as he hit level 5 or level 6 with Aftershock tanking multiple turret shots, and just like the overall vision control was so strong this entire game. They didn't have to actually fight at objectives. They got to fight in the enemy jungle as they were desperately trying to get vision. So Lowkey never had the setup for a fight, and it was a very dominant performance by DAMWON.
Yep, and shout out to Canyon as well. Fantastic Taliyah. But for more on Game 2, let's head over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Chatless. That was a little bit more of a sobering game. I think when we take a look at how it played out, 26-minute victory from DAMWON. That's what everyone anticipated 3 times. We were surprised in Game 1. I was sad. We'll get to why the game ended the way it did. But let's start by draft. Let's talk about the Pyke that rocked up. I know, Ender, you quite like the idea of the Pyke.
Well, so the Pyke's an interesting pick because I do think after the nerfs, like, I don't think you should be playing this pick up in the top lane, but I do understand the theory behind this champion, right? You concede laning phase entirely, and then you're supposed to have your jungler influence other lanes. They're supposed to get ahead, and then you enter these mid-game skirmishes where Pyke is going to pick up so much gold off of his ultimate, make up for all the CS he loses in lane, and then be sort of welcomed into the game by his team. The problem was, I didn't feel like that actually happened. The rest of the map just lost on their own.
Yeah, and the thing is that, and I think Jatt hit it really well in the cast, what Lowkey seemed to be going for is just warped game state. So how do you warp game state? You introduce a different variable that teams haven't scrimmed against in a pretty long time. And so they've gone with a lane swap, and now they're trying to have an influx of gold in mid-game team fights. The problem is if you don't use the warped game state, then you just have a crap top laner. And I think like that's kind of what it looked like this game.
Exactly. And you look at when does this team composition actually want to fight behind us, it's like 1 to 2 items. You're very strong, especially Twisted Fate gets the rapid fire cannon. It becomes so much easier to find these picks. But on the other side of the map with DAMWON, also a team that functions very well on 2 items, and I'd say even scales much better beyond that. So this comp from Lowkey was always going to be on a timer, and unfortunately, because the early game didn't go according to plan, they were always like fighting up against DAMWON and couldn't do anything really.
Now let's talk a little bit about the actual in-game decision-making, because Canyon attempted a couple ganks very early on, didn't find immediate success, especially conceding that first blood that we were talking about off-air. But immediately once Canyon got the mid and bot lanes ahead, they set up vision. They absolutely starved out any real opportunities. And like one of the things that I know Spawn and Ender were talking a lot about was how the DAMWON vision just allowed them to suffocate Lowkey out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, we look at like 14 minutes and onwards. As soon as DAMWON started, putting their 2v or their duo lane into mid, they just dominated the river. I did not see Lowkey actually cross the halfway point on the map for the rest of the game, and that's super problematic when you have a Twisted Fate and a Pyke that constantly want to be going and looking for fights. But I think a lot of the problems from Lowkey actually resulted because they kept putting celebrity bottom lane. Arguably like the strongest player in the game at that point was always side lane picking up CS. So DAMWON's 3v3 in mid was always going to be strongest.
And it's not even that. It's just like, how do you attack a 1-3-1? And I kind of went through this on cast the other day, but you either have to be very creative in your setup, like you have to be able to get an area first, sack a side lane, and then be able to generate a pick. Or the reason that a lot of games turn into an ARAM is you have to be able to fight for mid lane priority. If you lose control over mid lane, that means that they have times to be able to go into your jungle, set up those deep wards, and make you take the long way around. The frustrating thing is, Lowkey did neither. They didn't have any opportunity to get into Fog of War early. They weren't able to track down one's resets at all. And then they didn't fight for mid lane priority. And I think that this is the difference between a team that has very strong fundamentals versus a team that kind of is willing to try different things. It looks like Lowkey's fundamentals when the game is played very, very, slow, methodical, just does not seem to be there.
And you can even look back to game 1 to see the difference in baseline fundamentals too, because DAMWON were put so far behind after Lowkey came in with a really cool level 1 strategy to go for the lane swap and build up that lead. But DAMWON were able to fight back off of choosing smart fights, off of understanding pressure, and I think that holistically, this is why we favor DAMWON coming into the series.
Now, let's take a look at the one replay we do have. It really highlights the vision into a pick, into the moment that won the game. But if you just look at the mini-map, look at how many wards there are, and thank you, observers, for toggling this. DAMWON have all the information, Lowkey know nothing.
I just wish that this wasn't the case, but when you have a look at where waves are, they're both on turret. You have to get waves first before you can move in, because if you don't respond to waves, you have no idea how many numbers are in that jungle. Lowkey just skip a step there and get caught out for it.
And what we saw the entire game was Lowkey playing the 1-3-1. So they never had a strong side versus weak side. They were just sending their players back and picking up waves. They were never on offense. They were always on defense. And that's why we see them get suffocated out of vision, because they're never grouping up to actually try and force it themselves.
But the thing is, they just had so many tools to do it. And I think this is where the ultimate frustration lies, is like, you have the ability to recall Pyke. He's one of the quickest champions in the game. Get rid of Dustblade, crappy item. Just go for something like a Youmuu's, right? You just run Youmuu's Pyke down a lane, and you have all of a sudden TF Pyke in a side lane that can generate pressure. Sure, you have a cleanse on Taliyah, but that only works once. And I think you have to be able to take shots against this team. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
I really like that sentiment. You have to take shots, because when we step back and we look at the teams and what you guys were talking about, the fundamentals, it's clear Lowkey are not at the same level as DAMWON are, right? So how many more creative shots and surprise blows can they land to try and pick up more wins?
Yeah, well, the thing is, and I think they were saying that it was Medic that said it. They had 1 in 100 plays go right multiple times in a row, but they just didn't even go for the 1 in 100 plays. I think if you don't even necessarily need a creative comp to play the style that I think that Lowkey are trying to go for in this game. I think you just need to be very decisive and very early on your plays.
I just say run back the lane swap. In all honesty, it did not look like DAMWON had the right ideas as to how to counter it. They really didn't play that well, and I think coming into the series, I would have expected them to have prepped for that against a team like Lowkey, and I don't think that it's easy to make, these changes between games and series when you see such a different strategy.
Closing thoughts.
The thing is that the lane swap did get them the lead, but the game still went to 50-50, and then they still look to make the plays. I really do think this is a play generation series that they need to go towards.
Well, Lowkey, can you figure out how to make the plays? They've traded blow for blow so far in this series, and we'll see who can bring it to match point when we return.